Hey, y'all, and welcome to the Everyday Athlete Podcast, reported live from Omaha, Nebraska. And I'm your host, Katie Danger, U.S. Army veteran and founder of Red H Nutrition, providing everyday athletes just like you clean, effective nutritional solutions, custom formulated to help you reach your absolute potential every single day. Hello, athletes. Welcome to episode number 13 of the Everyday Athlete Podcast. I'm so excited to have you one-on-one for another episode. And this episode is going to be a wealth of information for you on a hot topic right now, and that is CBD. Now, you've probably heard of CBD at this point. There are pop-up shops on every street corner. There's franchises in nearly every city, and new multi-level marketing companies, they're starting their foundations using CBD products. So CBD is here to stay, and the goal of this podcast is to help give you general information on what CBD is, how it's used, the different variety of products that are on the market, and how it can help you accomplish your health and wellness goals. I'm also, at the end of the podcast, going to share my preferred personal brand and the brand that we carry in our brick and mortar store. But before I dive into CBD, I want to share my personal story with you about how I found CBD, and it will enlighten you as to why this episode is so important to me and why I am so passionate about sharing this information. My family, God bless them, they have a history of the crazies, and as fate would have it, that genetic predisposition, it didn't forget about me. So for years, I've struggled with my social anxiety, my depression, with my mood, and the only relief that I have ever found was through prescription medications. And then up until 2 years ago, the most recent medication that I was prescribed was for Prozac. Now, for a couple of years, I successfully managed those symptoms with Prozac, and things started to get bad again, though. I was having trouble thinking clearly. I wasn't sleeping well, and it seemed that everything felt like the end of the world. I was not, in any way, shape, or form, in control of my thoughts, my feelings, or my actions. I felt out of control of everything, like the circumstances around me. If I had a good day, it was luck. If I had a bad day, that's just the way it was supposed to be. So I went back to the doctor, and her recommendation was to prescribe me a higher dose. Eventually, after seeing her and things not working, and I wasn't able to level out, I was at 40 milligrams of Prozac, which is the highest milligram concentration of Prozac that they make. So I kept thinking, this isn't working. This isn't working. Where do we go next? Like, where do you go after you're already on the highest level of medication? The last thing I wanted to do was take more pills and then try another medication. So after a few weeks of the highest dose, this 40 milligrams, I'd had it. I was done. It wasn't working. I wasn't feeling better. And I was upset all of the money and the time that I spent with the doctor. That's when I took the initiative. I finally decided to take control of something. And I wanted to learn more about alternative options for managing stress. Like I said, I didn't want to take pills anymore. I didn't want to take another medication. I had heard, you've heard about marijuana before, and you hear about how that's helped stress and anxiety, but it's just not federally legal. So I was looking at other options for managing, holistic options from the earth, plant-based options. And that's when I came across CBD. And since incorporating CBD into my daily routine, I've been self-medicating. And I use the term self-medicating not in the way that a junkie would or somebody who is addicted. This is just because there isn't a lot of information on proper dosing and there aren't actual doctors of CBD medicine yet. This self-medicating is the term that I'm going to use, and then the term that I generally refer to when it comes to dosing yourself. So I've been self-medicating for 2 years with CBD, and it's completely changed my life and my world. My attitude is better. I now feel in control of my thoughts and my feelings and my actions. My anxiety, my depression, all of those things have subsided significantly. And currently today, twice a day, I use CBD, and I have never felt better. CBD's had life-changing results for me. So this podcast is a passionate suggestion, a very, very passionate suggestion that if you struggle with anxiety, depression, or other mood disorders, pain, or inflammation from injuries or sickness, or inconsistent and bad sleep patterns, it's going to benefit you to listen to the meat and potatoes of this podcast as we go a little further with this. Now you know why I believe sharing this information could be valuable to the everyday athlete. So let's get into CBD 101. CBD is the acronym for cannabidiol, and it is a compound found in the cannabis plant. Unlike its psychoactive relative compound, THC, CBD does not produce any mind-altering effects. Simply put, CBD is the healing without the high. Patients, which is another word that I'm going to use throughout this podcast, and when I do talk about utilizing CBD, I don't want to call them customers. I don't want to call them users. I think patients, because When we talk about CBD, we talk about it in a medicinal way to manage symptoms of problems that we're experiencing. Patients is the word I'm going to use going forward. So patients using CBD report a wide range of benefits, including reducing pain and inflammation, helping with sleep disorders, improving mood disorders like anxiety and depression, and many others. The unique receptors in our body, called the endocannabinoid system, was first discovered in 1988 in the brain of a rat. Researchers found that these receptors reacted specifically to THC and were found primarily in the regions of the brain that are responsible for mental and physiological processes like memory, cognition, emotion, and motor coordination. Then, in 1993, another breakthrough was found by researchers, and they found a second cannabinoid receptor, and that was found to be linked to the central nervous system and immune function. Now, you probably haven't heard of those studies because at the time, the hype around those findings was low, and it was low because these receptors were found in rats, not humans. Yet. Flash forward, 1995, scientists found these receptors in humans, and this is also in thousands of other species. So we now know that these receptors, which are now referred to as CB1 and CB2, they're found in almost all living mammals. It's insane. It's crazy. So as researchers learned more about this endocannabinoid system, they discovered that it was a vital component in maintaining the body's homeostasis. Homeostasis is the ideal balance between interdependent elements in the body to achieve optimal wellness. So I'm going to restate that. They found that the endocannabinoid system is a vital component in maintaining the body's optimal wellness, homeostasis. That should give you an idea of how important the endocannabinoid system is to the body, is to humans. And to give you an idea of how this system helps maintain homeostasis, I'm going to give you an example. When we become stressed, our minds release cortisol, and cortisol is the stress hormone. It's the compound responsible for how we feel when we're stressed. Cortisol can be helpful when we need to react to a dangerous situation. However, too much cortisol disrupts the natural balance of our body and mind and can result in serious health problems. This is where CBD comes in. When certain endocannabinoids are introduced into the body, it not only helps provide stress relief, but it helps manage our perception of stress. So we look at the situation with a clear mind, objectively, and make the best decision possible. So to summarize that, to make it very simple to understand, scientists discovered that there are systems in our bodies that are solely dependent on their interactions with cannabinoids, and these systems are part of vital functions in our bodies. Our bodies were designed to work with cannabinoids, and they can even be considered as essential to our overall health and wellness. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you start to understand why CBD is taking the health and wellness industry by storm yet? After we went through the history of it and what it's capable of helping do within the body and its vital function and optimal health and wellness, now you can see why CBD is taking this industry by storm. Here's another question that comes up often. Is CBD legal to use? You know, over the last 60 plus years, the government and health agencies have led propaganda and false research claiming that cannabis and its constituents, like CBD, are the gateway drug. So the cannabis plant, the hemp plant, they've all been demonized for way too long. But general perception in the past few years has started to trend positively, and it's mainly due to the incredible results and benefits that people are experiencing when using CBD in their wellness care. In the United States, at the federal level, CBD derived from hemp is 100% legal, as most CBD products are hemp derived. And that's why our Seeing CBD shops open up on nearly every single corner of your town in every single state. Ever heard the saying, failing to prepare is preparing to fail? A major component to your competitive success will be your nutrition prep. And I created a competition nutrition guide to help you utilize pre, intra, and post-competition nutrition protocols, boost your confidence heading into a competition, recover quicker post-comp so you get right back to training, and increase your power output and max capacity so you can own that podium. I created this guide just for the everyday athlete, and you can get your free copy at competitionnutritionguide.com. I'll say again, competitionnutritionguide.com. So we've covered the basics of CBD and how it's important to your overall wellness care and body's homeostasis. Now let's talk about the different ways to take CBD. But first, I want to tell you about bioavailability. We have to talk about bioavailability first because it directly relates to CBD effectiveness of the dosage. Bioavailability is defined as the degree and rate at which a substance that is absorbed into the bloodstream. In addition to the amount and strength of a substance, bioavailability determines how much of what you took is actually going to present and provide an effect for you. Now, let's move into how patients are using CBD. The most well-known way that people are using CBD is edible gummies. Gummies are easy to take. They taste good. They're fruit flavored, and they often come in multiple concentrations, with 10 milligram being a starter dose all the way up to 50 milligrams plus. Now, the negative side of using gummies, although they're tasty, is that a large portion of the CBD that you ingest is going to be filtered out via the digestive system, so it dramatically reduces its bioavailability. When it comes to specifics, a lot of the findings that you'll look up on CBD suggest that the bioavailability rate of gummies is about 8 to 15%. So do the math here. That means that if you had a 100 milligram edible, only 8 to 15 milligrams of that CBD is actually going to reach your bloodstream and actually going to give you an effect. So you can see that you're going to lose a large portion of the CBD to your digestive system, nearly 75% on average. That is worse than taxes. So there are other options, though, which is fantastic. That's where my personal favorite method of CBD comes in. I prefer tinctures or sublingual drops. Sublingual drops, tinctures, they come usually in little glass containers with a dropper, and usually one dropper full is 1 milliliter. What you do is you'll take drops under the tongue, and there's a vein called the sublingual gland. When a substance is put on the sublingual gland, it gets absorbed directly into the bloodstream, which is referred to as sublingual consumption. So common sublingual ways to take are tinctures. You can get lozenges, or now there's even sprays. You can spray the CBD in your mouth, and it hits the lining of your mouth and still gets absorbed quickly into the bloodstream. Because this application is more direct, it impacts the body quicker than oral consumption like gummies, and it has a higher bioavailability. The only CBD is lost is because of the enzyme reaction in the mouth. On average, we're looking at about a 20% bioavailability rate. So before we were looking at 8 to 15, now we're looking at 20% plus. So that is definitely far better than gummies. And when you're talking about dollars and cents, you're going to get more of what you paid for. Another way people get their CBD is through vaporizers. I know there is some news about vaporizers and their safety, and I'm not here to argue that or be a proponent of vaporizers. I'm just here to tell you this is a way that people are ingesting their CBD through vaporizers. And the smoke enters the lungs and provides a quick effect, usually lasting around 2 to 4 hours, and has one of the highest bioavailability rates at 35% plus. So another and the final way that I'm going to tell you about CBD is through balms and salves, topical ointments. These are used for local pain relief and inflammation, but the caveat here is that CBD does not enter the bloodstream, so there's really no bioavailability to talk about. All you're getting is that topical relief. You're not going to get any of the effects that CBD would provide if it were to react with the receptors in the brain. Now, there are a few other ways to get your CBD, and if you're wondering if there's any ways that you can get it like 100% or close bioavailability, well, there are ways, and here are the ways. They're generally going to be more expensive and more uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is transdermal patches. So like the nicotine patches, Nicorette patches or whatever, now they make those in CBD. So they can be slow release and they go directly into the bloodstream. They go below the epidermis, dermis, and get into the bloodstream. There's also, those are about 80% bioavailability. Now, if you take a suppository, a rectal suppository, you're looking at close to 100% bioavailability. So although uncomfortable and although inconvenient, if this is an option for you, I guess a rectal suppository is going to be the most bioavailable way to get your CBD. I've never tried one, and I probably never will. If you do, though, I'd love to know your reaction with it, your interaction with it, and your experience. You can always email me at katie@readynutrition.com. I would just like to learn more about it. That's all. So now that you know how to take CBD, you're probably wondering how much you should take. How do you dose CBD? Generally, if somebody has never used CBD before and they're starting out, I always recommend a 10 milligram dose. CBD is a lot like any other pharmaceutical or supplement where you don't want to take too much as your body can adapt to those. You're looking for the least effective dose, which also saves you money. 10 milligrams in many circles of literature is recommended as a general starting dose for a newbie. After a patient starts with 10 milligrams, I have them assessed for 7 to 10 days. If those symptoms that they're experiencing aren't any better or they're not finding the relief that they want, I tell them to increase their dose by 5 milligrams. So we start at 10, 7 to 10 days, go with 10 milligrams. If you don't find any relief, up your dose by 5 milligrams. and then assess again on a 7 to 10 day basis, and then increase by 5 milligrams if appropriate. You're going to find your sweet spot. And if you're wondering, how do I know if it's working? My reply is always, because you're going to stop thinking about if it's working. It's going to work because you're going to be more focused on the tasks you have at hand rather than your anxiety, depression, pain, or any potential lack of sleep. Your discomfort isn't going to interrupt your daily process anymore, and that's going to be your sweet spot. You won't be feeling that discomfort anymore. Your movement won't be hindered, and you'll be moving. So to reiterate, start with 10 milligrams for 7 to 10 days. If it's not doing what you want it to do, increase by 5 milligrams every 7 to 10 days. Find your sweet spot. Your patience will be key here as you find what works for you. All right, athletes, we talked about the history of CBD, how it was first found to be beneficial in rats and then eventually in humans. There's lots of different ways you can take your CBD, vaporizers, tinctures, drops under the tongue, edibles, lozenges, patches. You can even have a suppository if that's something that you would want to do. And I know there was a lot of information on CBD here, but the best way to know if it's for you and how to get the best results is just to start taking it. Go to somebody you trust. Ask questions about how CBD can interact with your current medications. Talk to your doctor if you have any concerns about that. But the best way to get started is just to get started. Go to a trusted CBD shop. Google CBD stores in your area. If you're in Omaha, Nebraska, come to Red H Nutrition. I'm very well versed in CBD and how to get somebody started and comfortable with their dosing and with their preferred method of ingesting CBD. My personal brand of choice and the brand that we sell in our brick and mortar store in Omaha is Floyd's of Leadville. And I've chosen Floyd's of Leadville for 2 years now to support my own CBD needs, but also my customers because of the quality of hemp they use. The locality of their manufacturing plant is in Leadville, Colorado, and we're in Omaha, so it's very, very close. And I'm also a really big fan of Floyd Landis, and he is the owner and founder of Floyd's of Leadville. And if you haven't heard of Floyd Landis, he is a former elite level Olympic cyclist. He was prominent around the same time that Lance Armstrong was. So I just really love Floyd's of Leadville. I get nothing for referring them to you. I will just continue to stock their products in my shop and recommend them because of the quality of CBD that they produce and the results that I've gotten and that hundreds of my customers have gotten. All right, guys, now you know CBD 101. This should help you get out there, make the right choice for you. If you have any questions, stop by the shop if you're in Omaha or send me an email, katie@redhnutrition.com, because I am here to serve you. I'm here to educate, inspire, and empower you to be better. Stay tuned for next week, athletes. I have got a really awesome episode for you in number 14. It's a fan-requested episode, and it's titled Nutrition for Hypertrophy. And it is gain season. It's actually always gain season if you want it to be. So if you're wanting to put on some legitimate lean muscle mass, you got to tune in next week and learn the real way to build muscle with your nutrition plan. Athletes, I know that you're juggling life and all of its responsibilities, and it can get overwhelming. So when it comes to improving your fitness and nutrition, Red H has you covered. Boost your strength, power, speed, endurance, improve your focus, clarity, and mood, get better sleep, move pain-free, and amplify your life with Red H supplements. As a listener of the Everyday Athlete podcast, I am gifting to you a 20% off coupon code. It is good on your first order, your second order, your third order. Every single order you make, use code podcast20. Take 20% off your order just for being a listener of the Everyday Athlete podcast. Athletes, if you're ready to be better than you were yesterday, head over to redhshop.com. Find the supplement solution that's perfect for you. And remember, use code podcast20 and save 20%. Athletes, this is Katie D with the Everyday Athlete podcast. Over and out. I will talk to you again in the next episode.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.